believe are the mark of a camelotia that was there more than 200 million years ago. Paleontologists think the footprints, which are up to 75 cm or 30 in apart, were made by a huge herbivore from the late Triassic period, and now there are efforts to get them verified. Tegan and Mum Claire have been told by the National Museum Wales paleontology curator that she is fairly certain they are genuine dinosaur prints. "We've got 5 footprints and we're talking about 1/2 to 3/4 of a metre between each one," Cindy Howells told the BBC. "These footprints are so big it would have to be a type of dinosaur called a sauropodomorpha." Tegan's monster discovery was on the South Wales coast near where her mum used to live. "It was so cool and exciting," said Tegan, who had travelled from Pontardawe near Swansea to the Vale of Glamorgan looking for fossils. "We were just out looking to see what we could find. We didn't think we'd find anything. We found these were big holes that looked like dinosaur footprints, so Mum took some pictures, emailed the museum, and it was from a long-necked dinosaur." Clary emailed Cindy a few days after the find in the Red Siltstone at Lavernock Point between Cardiff and Barry on a stretch of the Glamorgan heritage coast known to be a prehistoric hotspot. Cindy, the go-to dinosaur expert of 40 years in this part of the UK, said what convinced her they were genuine was the consistent stride pattern. "If they were random holes, we'd be wary, but because we have a left foot, a right foot, and then a left and another right, there's a consistent distance between them," she said. "It's quite a significant find. The buzz you get when someone contacts us with a definite dinosaur find, it's amazing." Claire was chuffed. Their hunch was right and has invigorated her junior dino hunter daughter. "It's hard to comprehend you're walking on the same beach that hundreds of millions of years ago some massive prehistoric animal was here," she said. "You can spend a lifetime looking for dinosaur treasures, so for it to happen for Tegan at this age is great." What is a camelotia dinosaur? The latest prehistoric find on this stretch of coast is a print from the sauropod family of dinosaurs, including the Brachiosaurus and Diplodocus, distinctive by their very long necks, long tails, big body and small head. Cindy believes the footprint is from a camelotia that lived across parts of Europe. Little is known about them compared what experts know about Stegosaurus, Triceratops and the mighty T-Rex, but it is thought they walked on their front feet and their hind limbs, were herbivorous and from the late Triassic period. "We think these prints were made by a reasonably large herbivorous dinosaur," added Cindy. "While we haven't any bones here, bones of similar dinosaurs were found on the other side of the Bristol Channel. A camelotia would have stood about 3 m, 4 feet tall, 4'5" men, 13 to 16 ft long, and is an early sauropodomorph with a relatively long neck, long tail, and walked on 2 legs, but could walk on all 4 when grazing for food." Is Wales a dinosaur find hotspot? Cindy is pretty certain Tegan's footprints are linked to the first dinosaur prints found in Wales in 1879 in nearby Porthcawl. Bones were then unearthed in Cowbridge in the Vale of Glamorgan before more footprints were found at the Bendricks, near Barry and Sully, now a site of special scientific and paleontological interest. A full dinosaur skeleton was unearthed in 2014 on the same beach near Penarth, where Tegan found her footprints, although that was a 201 million-year-old Dracoraptor and a meat-eating cousin of the T-Rex. 4-year-old Lily found a well-preserved dinosaur footprint at the Bendricks 3 years ago, and now Tegan has spotted some more just down the coast. "It's amazing, as up until recently, we had so few dinosaurs finds in Wales, we didn't think we had much in the way of dinosaurs here," said Cindy. "Now we're getting a footprint or bone find every 5 to 6 years, and we now know we've a continuous sequence of dinosaurs living in Wales over 15 million years or so. It's amazing." The South Wales group of the Geologists Association, of which Cindy is vice president, believes it is the best site in Britain for dinosaur tracks, external of the Triassic period. What was Wales like when dinosaurs roamed? Cindy has said Wales, whose geological history dates back 700 million years, was a hot desert subject to flash floods when the dinosaur that formed the footprints found by Tegan roamed. She was keen to quickly analyse the prints as she knew it as a well-known spot for prehistoric finds. The rocks around this area are Triassic rocks, formed in the deserts, and we know we've got dinosaur footprints in them, added Cindy. Some 220 million years ago, Wales looked like what the Middle East does now, so very hot, dry with deserts, and the sea was hundreds of miles away. But sea level started to change and continents breaking apart. It was getting damper, the sea was flooding the deserts, and the environment was more favourable for dinosaurs. Then 200 million years ago, Wales was like the Mediterranean is now, with shallow, warm tropical seas and little islands. Cindy has now written a report for other paleontologists on her view they are from a dinosaur to verify for the find. It's brilliant to say to people we have dinosaur footprints on our coast in South Wales, she added. You've just got to be in the right place at the right time. In museums, we don't have time to go out and do that exploration ourselves, so we rely on people like Tegan doing it for us. We can't do our job without it. The Geologists Association has told amateur dino hunters that footprints can be difficult to see, as many are covered at high tide. It is best to go after high tide when the tracks may retain small puddles of water, the group advises. It is also easier to spot the footprints when the sun is low in the sky, as longer shadows will help throw the footprints into relief. Subscribe for more updates. Thanks for watching and supporting. The superstorms from space that could end modern life. The sun is going through a period of high activity, but it is nothing compared to an enormous solar event that slammed into our planet 14,000 years ago. If one were to occur today, the effect on Earth could be devastating. The oldest trees on Earth date back a whopping 5,000 years, living through all manner of events. They have stood through the rise and fall of the Roman Empire, the birth of Christianity, the European discovery of the Americas, and the first moon landing. Trees can even be fossilized in soil underground, giving us a connection to the last 30,000 years. At first glance, these long-lived specimens might just appear to be static observers, but not so. They are doing something extraordinary as they grow, recording the activity of our sun. As trees photosynthesize throughout the year, they change in coloration depending on the season, appearing lighter in spring and darker by autumn. The result is a year-on-year record contained within the growth rings of the tree. This gives us this really valuable archive of time capsules, says Charlotte Pearson, a dendrochronologist, someone who studies tree rings at the Laboratory of Tree Ring Research at the University of Arizona, US. For most of the 20th century, dendrochronologists have largely used tree rings to investigate change across wide chunks of history, a decade or more. Yet at certain points in time, the change they document has been more sudden and cataclysmic. What they are finding evidence of are massive solar events that reveal disturbing insights into the turbulent recent past of the star at the center of our solar system. Nobody was expecting a brief event to appear, says Edouard Barr, a climatologist at the Collège de France in Paris. But in 2012, a then PhD student called Fusa Miyake, now a cosmic ray physicist at Nagoya University in Japan, made an astonishing discovery. Studying Japanese cedar trees, she discovered a huge spike in a type of carbon known as carbon-14 in a single year nearly 800 years ago, in 774 CE. I was so excited, says Miyake. After doubting the data at first, Miyake and her colleagues soon came to an unnerving conclusion. The spike in carbon-14 must have come from something injecting huge numbers of particles into our atmosphere, since this radioactive isotope of carbon is produced when high-energy particles strike nitrogen in the atmosphere. Once linked perhaps to cosmic events like supernovae, studies have since suggested another probable cause, a monster burst of particles thrown out by the sun. These would be generated by superflares, far bigger than anything seen in the modern era. They require an event that's at least 10 times bigger than anything we've observed, says Matthew Owens, a space physicist at the University of Reading in the UK. The first recorded solar flare sighting dates back to the middle of the 19th century and are associated with the Great Geomagnetic Storm of 1859, which has become known as the Carrington event, after one of the astronomers who observed it, Richard Carrington. Miyake's discovery was confirmed by other studies of tree rings and analysis of ancient ice in cores collected from places such as Antarctica and Greenland. The latter contained correlated signatures of beryllium-10 and chlorine-36, which are produced in a similar atmospheric process to carbon-14. Since then, more Miyake events, as these massive bursts of cosmic radiation and particles are now known, have been unearthed. In total, 7 well-studied events are known to have occurred over the past 15,000 years, while there are several other spikes in carbon-14 that have yet to be confirmed as Miyake events. The most recent occurred just over 1,000 years ago in 993 CE. Researchers believe these events occur rarely, but at somewhat regular intervals, perhaps every 400 to 2,400 years. The most powerful known Miyake event was discovered as recently as 2023, when Bard and his colleagues announced the discovery of a carbon-14 spike in fossilized Scots pine trees in southern France, dating back 300 years. The spike they saw was twice as powerful as any Miyake event seen before, suggesting these already suspected monster events could be even bigger than previously thought. The team behind the discovery of this superstorm from space had scoured the southern French Alps for fossilized trees and found some that had been exposed by rivers. Using a chainsaw, they collected samples and examined them back in a laboratory, discovering evidence for an enormous carbon-14 spike. We dreamed of finding a new Miyake event, and we were very, very happy to find this, says Cécile Miramont, a dendrochronologist at Aix-Marseille University in France and a co-author on the study. What causes the northern lights? Aurorae are caused when charged particles from the sun are funneled by Earth's magnetic field to the poles. Here, they collide with gases in our atmosphere, producing different colors as the clashes take place. The more powerful the solar event, the larger the aurorae can be. Earth's magnetic field can also be affected by the increased solar activity, causing a geomagnetic storm. Deep impact. If such an event were to occur again today, however, the impacts would be unprecedented. People who lived thousands of years ago would have probably seen aurora. They would have seen lights in the sky, says Pearson. They might have marveled at that, but beyond that, this wouldn't have impacted them at all. We're the first society on Earth that might witness one of these events who would be intensely vulnerable and massively impacted by it. Our sun today goes through periods of maximum and minimum activity on an 11-year cycle, during which it can fire out huge flares of plasma called coronal mass ejections, CMEs, and huge explosions of radiation called solar flares. If the sun rotates a CME in the direction of Earth, it can cause geomagnetic storms as charged particles flow into our atmosphere, unleashing aurora, known as the northern and southern lights. In May 2024, with our sun heading towards its current solar maximum, the strongest geomagnetic storm in 2 decades produced aurora visible as far south as London, in the UK and near San Francisco, California. These storms can cause mayhem on Earth. Geomagnetic storms can swell our atmosphere, increasing atmospheric drag on satellites. The Hubble telescope dropped by 40-80 meters at 141 260 TF a day during the geomagnetic storms in May 2024, for example. They can also play havoc with power